YouTube, welcome to another episode of IndieCent Exposure. My name is Isaac, here with my co-host James, and today's guest is, bear with me on this one, Wouter van Woets? Go ahead.
Yeah, close.
Close?
Yeah, first name was perfect, actually.
That's the one you told. That's the only one you instructed me on how to pronounce. So
that's fair.
We'll just stick with Wouter. Now today we are taking a look at a little game called Spot and Stroll. Let's get into it. So this is essentially a walk in the park simulator, right?
Yes.
Yes. I remember reading the blurb on Itch.io saying it was like, because in the quarantine we don't really get to go outside as much, but
exactly
to design an experience to let people have that.
Yeah, if you need like a little lunch break walk, you can just fire this up for 10 minutes and just unwind a little.
Is there any actual objectives in the game or things to do, or is it just purely exploration?
Yeah, the main goal is exploration, but there are some things like, for example, the map you're pulling up, that's all the animals you could spot. And there's not a mechanic that would check them off. It's just, you've seen them, just like in real life. But there is a hidden thing or two. So maybe we'll run into that.
I'll try my best.
Why did you want to make this game?
Well, honestly, it was because the thing is, I've been making games my entire life, but they've always been 2D games. So this is also me learning a new engine. So this is Unreal Engine 4. So I wanted a manageable project. So it's trying a new engine and trying a new art style, because I haven't made a lot of 3D assets before, mainly pixel art. So that's why I went for voxels, which is kind of an in-between step.
So what was the process in filling out the park? Like, is this does it mirror a park that is near you in real life?
Yeah, the funny thing is, trying to fill up such a big space can be pretty tricky. So I did copy or at least I looked at some of the pathways in a park back home. And then I filled in the park completely different and I made it square. But it's just, if you have some paths to work with, then it's a lot easier to fill up.
Oh.
Yeah, so the animals have a bit of a different behavior. Some animals will try to flee from you, like this guy is doing.
Do you listen to, I believe it's called ASMR?
My girlfriend does. I don't think it's for me, or maybe I haven't found the right type.
Do you think that influenced you when you were making this game?
I did try to. I did spend a fair amount of time trying to get the sound right. As in, the bird sounds are random, but they are also located in the space. So, and basically how I did that is I made the trees make sound. So each tree can get randomly picked to pick one of the random bird sounds, and then the distance and the direction of it will be correct. The funny thing is, I've seen, of all the playthroughs and people I've seen play, they somehow always run into the female duck first and feed it all the bread.
Oh no, is there a duck later on that we won't have any bread for?
There is a, what's it called? Is it the mallard, the male one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I haven't seen him get any bread. And this is what I call the tarantukan.
Terrifying.
That's what I call a nightmare.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen some people, they think that this game is like secretly scary, like a spoopy game. Especially when, the tarantukans, you approach it and there's fog and everything. But there's no jump scares, I promise.
That does sound like something a developer would say when he did want jump scares to come out.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, maybe I'll make a spin-off of this, because I have this entire park, and you could add bit more of a story narrative to it, and some jump scares.
This thing looks so much like a koala from the front. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's tricky with this size of voxel art to get the likeness of a raccoon and smaller animals. I asked a friend to do the voices for it. There's several different voice lines you can get, and her childish voice is just too perfect not to make a horror game.
How many different lines are there?
I think she has. She recorded a lot of them, including some evil ones. But I think I loaded in 8 different ones.
I guess that says something about the gamers nowadays, is that they just can't trust games.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I spin this off into a horror, definitely this teddy bear should be ominous, red glowing eyes.
Do you have any plans to do all of that? I mean, you just said that you've had it suggested to you, but was that a plan from the start?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to make a spooky game, like a short, story-driven one. Yes, it's been on my to-do list. I've actually made one in a different engine that I couldn't get it to export properly, so that was nice. That was a lot of wasted work. So, yeah, you can, especially when you reuse a lot of assets from this one, it could be pretty manageable.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Finally. I was like next to it.
do you want a teddy bear?
Sorry, I have no bread, but I do have this.
One of the features that I was also thinking about is that maybe you could pick up trash, but that almost feels like a chore, and it's not relaxing anymore, right?
I don't know. I mean, you could easily include an option to turn it on and off, like. And I guess I do understand that, because as soon as you give the player something to do, it implies that they have to do it. And the idea of this game is that you don't have anything to do.
Yeah, exactly. Because the animals could be a checklist, like, oh, you have to get clothes, or. But yeah, then it's just another a quest, or you can get that from other games, right?
You mentioned before that part of the reason why you made this game is you just wanted something to flex out your skills with. Did that influence the type of things you put in the park? Like, we were looking there at the Chinese dragon.
Yes.
Did you go, I want to make something complicated, and then go, this'll do?
Well, the thing is, basically, in a voxel editor, it's pretty easy to make static objects. So I did a lot of that. It's harder to animate, so the animals just hop up and down, because making a walking animation would be pretty time-consuming. So the dragon is actually only 2 parts. It's a head, and it's the curved part, and you just repeat it.
That is an enormous squirrel.
It's supposed to be a red fox, but sure. I did struggle with the scale of it a bit, because when you make the voxel smaller, you can go more detailed. But I was trying to go for a bit of a retro vibe. But then the scaling of the animals gets weird. The deer is also a bit too small, I would say. It maybe needs a mama.
So, you referenced before how easy it was to make the statue. Let's take, for instance, this duck here. How long would it take you to make that from scratch?
That duck would maybe take 10 minutes. Because there's no real animating to it. Yeah, they're scripted slightly differently. This one always looks at you, and the male duck only looks at him when you feed him. So his direction is random until you press E, and then he looks at you.
Go back out and restart.
Okay. Okay. Well,
It's always fun when we find a bug change.
I don't know how you could possibly feed one and not the
I'll
other.
feed them both.
Well, you can test it.
Oh,
So
wait. Oh, no, they're back.
Oh,
I get-
he looks at you after you feed him. Yeah, there we
yeah, you're feeding
Oh,
the
you are
guy.
feeding them both. I think, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll never
So
know.
the thing is, I was pretty sure that I programmed this to not happen, but it's an Easter egg. Let's just call it that.
I feel like if you get back to the development of this, the first thing to make is some sort of bread dispenser.
Yes, that's the comment I probably got the most. Like, oh, but now I don't have enough bread for the other duck.
Thank you so much.
I think there's something else you can do with the teddy bear,
Is there?
and it's gone now.
No, but the main purpose for now is to chuck it in the bin.
Which bin though? I looked at the bins.
No,
Oh,
but
these
the
bins.
the big
Yeah,
teddy
this one.
bears. I think I've seen a gif of someone putting it in the middle of them to complete the summoning ritual.
That's actually a spawn location for it. So it's simply where you can find the bear there, and then you chuck it in the bin.
Oh, so you can't put it back down in the bears.
No, but it's a good. I mean, if we make that horror spin-off, then definitely we could do a satanic ritual of some sorts.
Were the flowers based on anything in particular? Like any type of flower that you are a fan of?
Yeah, I guess these are supposed to be hyacinths, or whatever you call them. Normally they're a bit more blue, but I try to stick to a limited color palette. But they're not specific flowers that I like. I just wanted different colors in there. I think I started out with a yellow one, and then I started out with the red orangey flowers, and then I had to add yellow tulips in it because I'm from the Netherlands, so kind of have to have tulips in there.
I didn't know that was a rule. Was the climate of this park designed to be anywhere in the world in particular?
Not really. I think the tree types are also all over the place. You have like the Japanese, the blossom trees, Hanami Festival inspired. And so no, it's not a specific park. I just wanted it to be like spring or summer because we kind of missed most of that because of quarantine. I just have one type of pine tree, one type of that other tree, one type of bush, and then you just rotate them and put them in at different heights, and then it almost looks like they're different ones. My girlfriend was fighting for these for the grass as well because that made such a difference. It was quite flat before, and then I added these flowers that are 2D textures, and then she's like, "You have to do that with the grass as well." Like that's such an easy win, and it did make all the difference because with the fog, it creates such a amount of depth to it.
Oh, is he stuck?
He is stuck. So in Unreal, you can quite easily see where they can walk. It turns basically you set a specific height, and that means that everything under that height can be considered as ground floor, and they can walk on that and they can spawn on that. But somehow, it shows you that okay, this mountain they can't walk on, but still they spawn on it and in it. It's I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Let's just say he's mesmerized by the statue.
Yeah, I found the fox once just with only his head sticking out of the mountain, just like, and he was hopping up and down and making sounds. He's like, "Help me!"
When did the benches come along in the design for this game? Was it there from the start?
Yeah, the benches were there quite. I think that was the first mechanic I implemented. I did experience a bit of a bug with it, where now if you stand up, you basically spawn on top of the bench. I had a different mechanic at first, where it puts you in that location, and then it turns off clipping, so you can your collider goes through the bench. And that worked fine, because then if you pressed it again to stand up, your collision would go back on, and it would force you out of the bench. But then when I was testing it, I found a couple of cases where that didn't happen, and then you're stuck in the bench forever. So as a quick fix, you're now spawned on top of the bench.
Were you pressed for time when you were making the game?
No, it's basically my own attention span. That is
Like, I
often
gotta
made.
put this in before I lose interest.
Yeah, it is tricky. Like when you're working on a game on your own, it's different when you work in a team for a jam. Well, I guess jams also have a limited time frame, but yes, it's a little project that I wanted to get out the door because originally the main goal was for me to learn Unreal, and I'm not perfect at it right now, but it has taught me the basics that I need to know in order to make my next game.
What are these
Are these-
bears doing?
They're 420 friendly.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I was sparring with my sister. I texted her and I was like, I need ideas for weird statues, and she's like, a fat bear playing the flute.
Ah, it's a flute. Okay.
It's supposed to be anyway.
Are you a game developer by trade?
No, this is all hobby stuff. I'm an art director by trade. I started out as a graphic designer, and then now I'm doing a lot of art direction. So I know how to make graphics.
Evidently.
Thanks. Well, it's still a new art style because I taught myself how to do pixel art on the side, and I know graphic design, so I know how to make the logo, etc. But Voxel was a new style. Trying to make something look good in 3D space is tricky, and if I'm gonna make more games in 3D, I will have to learn a lot more, like proper 3D modeling, animation, rigging, and all that stuff. So
So that's why you made this.
yeah, it's I'm easing into it with this project, I guess.
So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you again for coming on, Walter. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Now, if you want to play the game for yourself, you'll find a link to it down below. You'll also see a link for our Discord if you'd like to chat. You could chat to Wouter directly, and there's also an application form if you would like your game to be featured on IndieCent Exposure. Otherwise, hit subscribe if you like this episode, and until then, we'll catch you in the next step.
Nice.